Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to our 5th episode of Raise a Glass Wedding presents Washington Weddings. I'm back again in Jon Kaplan's downtown Snohomish studio. I'm with Ashley L Productions, and she's also here helping me do the videography and all the editing for the shoot. So today's episode is on photographers. So I have three photographers. One is a couple, and we are going to chat about photography and tips to get the perfect pictures for your wedding and engagement. So stay tuned. So to start off with, we have Jon with Jon Kaplan Photography, and then we have Rebecca and Jeff with Jeff and Rebecca Photography, and they're going to give us some info about their businesses.
Hi, I'm Jon Kaplan. I'm the owner and lead photographer of Jon Kaplan Photography. I've been a full-time photographer based out of Snohomish for the last 6 years now, and about a year ago I've opened up this space, which serves as a photography studio as well as an event space, and it is called the Darkroom.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Rebecca, and together we own Jeff and Rebecca Photography.
We are a husband and wife photography team based out of Stanwood, Washington.
And we've been in business for over 3 years now. We specialize in weddings and elopements and engagement sessions and anniversary sessions. So those are kind of our jam, and we absolutely love our couples.
And we believe it takes a couple in love to capture a couple in love.
So I'm going to go through and ask our photographers a few questions and get to know them a little bit better and have a little discussion about wedding photography, so stay tuned. Okay guys, so how would you all describe your style of photography? Does it evolve over time? Do you guys follow trends at all? How does that work for you with evolving your business and just the style? So Jon, do you want to start off?
Sure. My style's definitely evolved. I wouldn't call it trendy or trend. I don't follow too many trends. I think the one thing I hear a lot about my photography styles is it's just very kind of natural. Mm-hmm. My editing styles, I try to bring out a lot of natural colors. I do get requests from time to time for certain editing styles, and I will accommodate that, but I try to just capture timeless photos, because I think it's very common for, with trends, there's pitfalls as well. Mm-hmm. Images that 10, 20 years from now you can look at, and they can definitely feel a little dated.
Yeah, definitely.
So I try to go for images that you can put on your wall and not feel too embarrassed about, 20, 30 years down the road. So
showing your kids and grandkids.
Yeah. So, and then just as far as my style, I'm very customer service driven. I realize that they're spending a lot of money for my services, so no's not in my vocabulary very often. So I try to just go above and beyond to accommodate things that they need. And I try to also, I guess if I were to kind of define my style too, I try to keep things very relaxed and fun for them. Mm-hmm. I know that wedding days especially can be very stressful, and they can have a lot on their mind as opposed to an engagement session. So I just try to keep things very natural and fun for them. I try to keep them engaging with each other. I try not to overpose too much. I do obviously make recommendations, little things that need fixing here and there, but I really try and get the couple kind of focused on each other, joking around with each other, and that's when you get a lot of those very genuine, warm smiles and moments.
Yeah, I like those. Couples in their natural habitat.
Exactly, yeah, and for me, that's kind of the philosophy I go by with photography, is trying not to overpose or create things that are so formulated and structured that they kind of feel uncomfortable, and their smiles are kind of forced.
Something that's, you don't want anything that's artificial to the couple.
Right, yeah, because I want them to be able to go back and look at their images and say that was an awesome moment, or more importantly, like their friends and family, like when they see those photos,
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, that's very them, you know.
Exactly.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Oh,
How would you describe your style, trends, if you follow any, or how does your photography evolve, or how has it evolved over the years?
Oh yeah, I think our style from when we started to now and then to the future, I feel I think it's always changing.
I think it's really important that you always grow. I think when a photographer gets stagnant, it's not a good thing. So even though we try to keep the emotions you get from our pictures consistent throughout the years, how we shoot changes a little bit over the years. The more skills we gain, the better our work becomes. For our style, we really like to capture each individual couple, like their true selves. So we don't do a lot of posing. We do a lot of prompts, if that makes more sense. So to get our couples to interact more with each other.
As far as trends, I feel we try to stay away from the trends just because it goes along the lines of how we want our couples to see their pictures in the future, so they can have them printed and hang them on the wall and not be something like, oh yeah, that was so
2000,
Yeah.
or,
Right.
something like that.
Yeah, look at my eyeliner in that. Like,
Yeah.
my goodness.
We do keep up to date on what the trends are. We just will never change our style based on what the current trend is.
But it's, in case you have a client that says, I'd like to potentially do something like this, you can, be able to make it your own.
Right,
but
exactly.
maybe in the sense that they want it in.
Right, and we're not too stuck in a specific editing style. We've developed our own style, and it will change slightly depending on the type of wedding we shoot. But for the most part, it's a very consistent, timeless, classic style of photography.
Yeah, they just did a shoot the other day for an anniversary shoot, and I was obsessed with it. It was really beautiful. It was so pretty. It made me want to do an anniversary shoot, and I haven't even been married a year yet. So
You should. I think I got a business card.
there's a business card right here somewhere. So I know I have so many options. It's wonderful. What I love about photography is you guys, as a profession, have so many different workshops that you get to go do and work and collaborate with people or learn new skills or techniques and things like that. With planners, they don't really have that so much. So that's really cool that stuff like that you get to learn and grow, and I'm jealous. So the next question I have for you guys is, what are some of the biggest challenges you have when dealing with weddings and engagements that have to do with photography? What are some of those challenges that you have to overcome? So you guys, I can start with you guys.
I would say possibly the two biggest challenges, I think, to any photographer would be weather is a big challenge, because if it's 100 degrees and like how it is lately, where it's just been sunny as can be, that can really affect photos if you're getting married in the middle of the day for ceremony outside. Another thing that I've noticed is if some of our couples have kind of packed their timeline too much and they don't leave any wiggle room, if one thing derails it, they often end up cutting something, and normally we found they'll cut their couple portraits.
Oh.
And it's not a big deal if they don't want a bunch, but normally it's the couples that do want a bunch, but they'll sacrifice to make sure they have their family photos and their bridal party photos and all that instead.
So pretty much making sure, weather, you can't control that, but
Yeah.
little things like details, timeline, things like that other people,
Just
are
being
in charge
aware,
of.
being aware of those things, and we're pretty good at helping out, keeping the couple on track in a way.
Yeah, doing the best you can, I'm sure, with running around, taking
Right.
pictures. It's hard for you guys, if there's a planner there, it might be a little bit easier.
Usually it moves a little more smooth.
And John, what about you? Are there challenges that you have to face when dealing with planning for certain weddings?
I gotta say, yeah, weather's a big one. It's just, especially in this region. I mean, I've had a bride go out of her, she got a farmer's almanac, and the statistically most dry month in Washington, or dry day of the year.
Yeah.
And it was late August, and there was like 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts, raining all day, and it was just like, it's just an unpredictable state for weather.
Exactly.
So, I mean, yeah, weather's a big one, and definitely dictates like a big part of the day, and what you can do. And then, I mean, beyond that, like, I don't know, like, having done it a while, I mean, you can kind of foresee the challenges and adjust. So I don't see weddings as that challenging anymore. I guess I will say another thing is there is kind of a fine line, like you guys were saying, about like keeping things like moving along and staying on a timeline, but also just like balancing that with like keeping the couple very relaxed, because that is a big thing. The wedding day itself, there's just so many spinning plates that, the couples can definitely get kind of in their head and get a little stressed out. They have all this family coming in from out of town, and like, it's not so much they're nervous or anxious or stressed out about saying I do and getting married. It's just like they're throwing this huge party and they want all their guests to have a good time. So balancing, just kind of like keeping things moving along, but like not rushing at the same time. It's just like, because you really do kind of want to keep things relaxed, but sometimes you do have to kind of move things along a little bit. Just
to gauge
just to
the
make
pace.
Sure, make sure they get everything that they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So, being a male photographer in the business, I work with a lot of female photographers. What is it like for you guys working in the wedding industry, being males, when it's mostly a female-dominated business? I know that it's opposite usually in a lot of realms, where it's a male-dominated business and the females are working in it, but it's kind of opposite for you guys. How does that work for you?
It's just being like very delicate, I guess, when dealing with like the getting ready portion of the day. Like, I'm always, obviously, Jeff, knocking's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, and just like being like very accommodating and friendly, and like, because it is, it can be a little weird, like, well, not weird. I guess just, it takes a little bit of delicacy when dealing with like, the sensitivity of like, ladies getting ready, and then like, photographing that kind of that intimate portion of the day. And really that's kind of about it. And I mean, I'm sure honestly somewhere along the line, like, I've probably been turned down because of that, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But I think most of the time they realize that like, I'm not there to creep, I'm there to get awesome photos and make their day great.
Because I think that is kind of a stigma, or a little bit of a, is that like the weirdo guy with the camera type thing. So it's nice to hear like you want to make people feel comfortable, and I never would have considered like the knocking type thing. It's not something that would have crossed my mind.
And just like,
that's why I'm not a photographer.
Articulating to them too, like, just be like, hey, like, if you guys need me to step out for any reason, like, I'm more than happy to do that. Just let me know and I'll hop out.
Yeah.
And then I always try to have like several female photographers kind of as associate photographers at any given point, because I have had couples say like, or brides say like, like, do you have any female photographers on your staff? So if they go out of their way to mention that, then like, obviously, like, if they do discuss that and bring that up, and that's kind of a concern for them, then like, I definitely like make sure that I have that one of those female photographers present for
That's great.
some of those moments. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've been a little lucky. Once we started, Rebecca shortly followed shooting with me, so having to do a whole lot of the solo guy photographer stuff has been kind of minimal, but
I will say, like, getting ready pictures, I think in general, if you're the female shooting the guys, it can also get the same way of the opposite.
I never thought of that.
I've literally had to pull a groom like out of a closet. Like, you can put your pants on already first, but when you're buttoning up your shirt, like, I need to go get those pictures, kind of thing. So
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I never would have thought of that. That would make me uncomfortable. For me, I'd be like, so should I come back? Are you ready? No?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just going to leave the wedding. So that's a good point. So what type of tips or suggestions do you give your couples or couples watching to ensure that they have the best wedding photographs that they can get and the best engagement photos that they can get?
I'd say one thing I always recommend to my couples is I think it's very important to do engagement photos with your wedding photographer. Because sometimes they'll have already had them done by another photographer, and more often than not, like when that happens, like I'll just tell them like that's fine, then let's just do it. Like won't charge them any extra, but like because for me it makes my job easier. It makes them more relaxed going into the wedding day, and then like as a photographer, I'm sure you can relate. Like having a little bit extra time with your couple ahead of time can like give you a sense of how they tick as a couple, and everyone has a personal bubble, right?
Yeah.
So like it gives you a sense of like that's personal space. Like some couples aren't as like into PDA and they're not as touchy as others. So it lets you kind of get an idea of like where they're at as a couple and like kind of how they flow. That way going into your wedding day, you can do your job better as a photographer, and then also they're going to be that much more comfortable with you.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Because a lot of packages, for the most part, don't they include engagement sessions a lot of times anyways?
Most of mine do.
Yeah, so a lot of times I've noticed they include engagements, so we might as well, even if you've had an engagement engagement shoot done before, then you can just do it again and get to know your photographer.
And then Rebecca touched on it earlier, but if I'm like sitting down in a consultation with a couple and they're like on the fence about their first look, whether or not they're doing it like at the ceremony or before, I try to like lay out the pros and cons, and there's just so many benefits to doing it beforehand. And yeah, I just get a feel for where they're at, and if they're on the fence, I really just try to kind of sway them that way, because
it just makes so much more time for the rest of
does.
the day.
And, yeah, I mean, you have all that time before the ceremony, like that you could be utilizing for images or taking portraits, and it just, you can space things out more so things are more comfortable, more relaxed.
Couples can go and enjoy their cocktail hour or whatever with their guests and chat with their guests a little bit longer for the most part. And things like that.
Yeah, I'd say those are kind of my big ones. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And to kind of touch on the first look, I know a lot of our couples will mention they're wanting like that whole like, oh, his emotion when they see me walk down the aisle. We didn't do a first look. And 5 years into marriage now, and I regret it every single time I think about it, because you are not focused on your husband up there because you got 15 aunts and uncles reaching out to the aisle going, you look beautiful, you blah, blah, blah. And, he's up there and with lights or the sun right in his face, and he probably can't hardly see you, to be real and honest.
Jeff was about to black out.
Yeah, a little bit. Bending the knees.
Super nervous,
And it does make the day go a lot more smoothly. And if you're still having a small cocktail hour, you can actually go and enjoy that cocktail hour.
Exactly.
You got all these people in from out of town, like some people you haven't seen in years, So you should be there celebrating, and I mean, that's how I see it.
Right.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that makes a big difference in the day and how the day flows and the amount of time that people have being able to communicate and talk with one another, and it just, I think it's a more personal, intimate moment when it's just, the two of them, and they get to remember it a little bit more. Like, I don't remember the vows that my husband said to me whatsoever. Luckily, someone was there videotaping, because I don't remember anything he said.
Right.
So it's nice to have that little intimate moment. So.
Yeah.
Anything else that you guys want to include for tips or suggestions?
As far as some other tips, I think it's really important that you personally connect with your photographer. Because if you don't, you're not going to enjoy your wedding pictures, because you're not going to associate good feelings with them. So we always kind of tell our couples, if you're super introverted and maybe really kind of quiet people, you might not be the best fit for us. We're a little outgoing and we like to have fun, and we might be shouting at you to kiss each other across the way. And then the reverse can be true too. If you have a more extroverted couple, but they're looking at a really kind of quiet, shy, more meeker photographer who kind of whispers prompts sometimes instead of yells them when they need to be yelled, that might not jive either. I think it's a really big thing to really make sure you get along. That's pretty much why we do a consultation. A lot of our couples will know before they meet with us if they're going to book us or not, just solely on the fact that as long as our personalities click.
Yeah.
And I would say probably another big tip is make sure your photographer is not more concerned with shooting for their portfolio versus what the images are important to you. Because I think a lot of photographers in today, they get really stuck on getting that
The money shot.
the money shot that's on Pinterest right now.
Yeah.
And we always ask our couples, what's your version of a money shot? Because some couples only want 15 minutes of portraits, but they want you there for 8 hours of reception getting candidates galore.
Yeah.
And sometimes the opposite. They don't care past the little reception events to capture that, and they want an hour and a half of portraits. So we always focus on what's important to them, and each couple is different.
That's fantastic. Okay, well, thank you guys for participating today, and I really enjoyed having you all here to talk about weddings and wedding photography, and we're going to share your information with everybody at the bottom of the video. You can find their websites and ways to connect with them to set up consultations to get your wedding photography done by them. So, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So thank you guys all for tuning in to our photographer episode of Raise a Glass Wedding Presents. Please make sure to share, like, and follow. And next month we're going to come out with another episode featuring one of your favorite wedding vendors. So stay tuned. Thanks. Bye.